Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting our service this morning by singing Building Bridges, which is 1023 in the teal hymnals. If you'd like to read along, the words will be up here. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Good morning, everyone. Our opening words today are from Barbara J. Peskin. One of the old ones stood up into the morning light and spoke to those who had come back to the river. Now we have come again to this place. It is a good thing. My life apart from you is not as strong. Yes, I have danced and I have told the stories at my own fire, and I have sung to all the 6 directions. But when I am with you, my friends, I know better who it is in me that sings. As we begin our service, let us take a moment to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional land of the Duwamish people, stewards of this land, past and present. Sorry, lost my place. With humility and gratitude, we honor this land and the Duwamish tribe and commit to our role in the story of repair of our relationship with this land and its people. Whoever you are, wherever you have come from, whatever the color of your skin, whoever and however you love, however your body moves and your brain works, however you identify, you are welcome in this faith community. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition has no test of faith, no creed or oath to swear. We have instead the promises we make to one another, commitments we make to heal a hurting world within and beyond our walls. And now, let us take a moment to light our chalice. Our chalice lighter today is Marion Key. Would you please come forward? This chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist heritage. May its heat energize us for the work that is ours to do. May its light make our vision clear and bright. May its warmth comfort us always. This morning, as we light the flame, we mark this time as sacred time. We mark this space as sacred space. Let us share in all of this together. And now, as Marion lights our chalice, please join me in speaking the words of our congregation's affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you, Marion. Welcome to the Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Liz Bucklew, a member of the worship team, and it's a great joy to be gathering with you for this service on the theme of Seattle's Duwamish River. Once teeming with beautiful salmon and fertile plains, the Duwamish drew both native peoples and settlers to its shores over centuries for trading, transport, and sustenance. Unfortunately, the very utility of the river was its undoing, as decades of dumping led to the river being declared a Superfund cleanup site. Through the story of the river, author BJ Cummings explores previously unrecorded native and immigrant histories, exposes settler falsehoods about the founding of our state, and issues a call to action to align future decisions with values of collaboration, respect, and justice. Our speaker today, BJ Cummings, founded the Duwamish River Cleanup Coalition in 2001 and has served as the executive director of Puget Soundkeeper Alliance and Sustainable Seattle. She is the author of The River That Made Seattle, A Natural and Human History of the Duwamish, and she was awarded the River Network's National River Hero Award for her work leading community-based cleanup and the restoration of the Duwamish River. If you're with us for the first time or the first time in a while, welcome. We're so glad that you're here, both here in the sanctuary and joining us online, to make some space in your life to attend to your heart and your spirit, to come together in community. Please visit our website, which you can do by scanning the QR code in the card on the pews, where you can fill out a welcome form so we can get to know you a little bit better and send you our weekly electronic newsletter, the West Side Week. It's good to see familiar and new faces today. Let's take a few moments to greet our neighbors around us.
It's nice to see all that energy out there. I love that. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing Morning Has Come, which is hymn number 1000 in your teal hymnals, if you like to look along. It's one of my favorites, actually. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Each week, congregants who agree to light our chalice are given a chance to respond to a question or a prompt. This is a chance for us to get to know them better and to invite more voices into our chancel. Marion Key has been asked to offer a piece of poetry that is meaningful to them.
Hi, I'm glad to be with you this morning. This poem's called Development Values, and I started writing it about 2006. I think it's finally finished. A stand of mega homes sprang up in pasture just beyond our fence, across the winter sunrise and the southern flank of mountains. New neighbor sitting in her dining room at 7 eats breakfast with the morning paper, TV, and her phone. Through her windows, I can see her coffee steaming in the slanting summer sunrise. She can't view the mountains, see the sun come up in winter, because her home was built without a window on that side. Big as a hay barn, oddly thoughtless in design. Perhaps she doesn't know her house can see the mountains. Perhaps she simply sees she has a house. When we first bought our place, the agent dropped a helpful hint. Taking that big willow out to get a wider view will enhance your equity by thousands, actually 10,000s. Do it soon before it gets so big it costs you more. Now the willow's huge, 4 feet across at shoulder height. Foaming over green in spring, cool waving grace in summer, branches fragile as glass in winter windstorms. The mega homes are cited to have great views of our yard. To watch the weeping willow play in wind, they paid another 100,000 each. Not to us, but the willow is family, and we tend it. I've been asked to share what this poem means to me. First, it honors the willow, which no longer stands, having spontaneously fallen over with a mighty crash on a windless day one March. The arborist said the collapse was due to soil failure. The slope is steep, the willow was very heavy, and the ground was saturated. We still miss the tree. Some of its exposed roots were bigger around than I am. Second, this poem honors the ancestors who cared for the land where I live in Redmond. And I should add at this point that I'm from Appalachia, I'm from West Virginia, and I am mixed race from 4 continents. Those people, the ancestors, were the Sammamish people, whom other coastal Salish tribes seem to have regarded as backwoodsy. I can feel in them the patch of old-growth forest near our home and down by Lake Sammamish or the river. As a child growing up in West Virginia, I clearly sensed my own native ancestors whenever I was outside and took them for granted, although I learned not to talk about the pictures they put into my head in response to my questions about how they lived. Like them, Sammamish ancestors maintain energetic ties to the land they were committed to protect when they lived in human form. They conveyed to me that some of them are in the big trees, and I got pictures in my head of tree burials. I had to look that up. Sure enough, there is local archaeological evidence that this was likely to have been the case in my area. Although nobody was ever buried in the willow, the remains of the willow were returned to the land. It became clean landfill at the expense of thousands of dollars to cut up the pieces and haul them away. For the many years we enjoyed its company, that was definitely worth it. Third, this poem honors the way of seeing the land as an interconnected whole, despite its having been broken up into sections, logged off, and sold in parcels to those who have settled in the Redmond area over the last 115 years. One of the first things I noted when I moved in almost 30 years ago, was that the willow was planted right in the middle of where there used to be a stream. It was put there by the home's first owner to suck up the extra water that stubbornly made that part of our yard soggy. Stormwater mitigation up the hill from us has dried out the soggy patch, which is now simply pleasantly green all summer long, and we haven't planted another tree there. We have a dozen huge trees in our yard, and the willow's absence has given a couple of our semi-dwarf fruit trees more of the sun they crave. It's also allowed a city-planted red maple in the sidewalk strip to grow to just the right size. The former stream now lives in a storm sewer below the cul-de-sac behind our house. In wet weather, I hear its voice rising from the storm sewer grates. So this poem honors the stream as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. It is now our time for all ages. Reverend Katie Lawson will be sharing today's story, A Drop in the Bucket. Anyone of any age who wishes to see or hear our storyteller better is invited to come on down and sit on the floor or the front pews. While we gather, let me tell you about the religious exploration activities going on this morning. All the children and youth are invited to come to the social hall for Project Sunday as an exploration of this month's UU value of interdependence. This Sunday, we will revisit the projects that we have done throughout the year that encourage sustainability through hand-making and repurposing materials.
Okay. All righty. This is the what? Earth. Okay. And we are, to review once again, here, right? What is all the blue stuff? Water. Brilliant crowd today. Okay. All the blue stuff on Earth is water. A lot or a little? A lot. A lot of blue stuff, a lot of water. This is a good thing. Why is this a good thing? Because we need water. Seattle's pulling the whole Earth down. Not that way. We need water to live, correct? Did you know that? You need water to live. And so, us, right here, we are on the edge of all of this water. It's amazing. We're so lucky. But wait, there's a catch. I want to show you something. I'm going to take this little cup, and I want you to imagine that this is all the water in the world, all that we just looked at. That's all the water in the world. Okay, I'm going to take this. I'm going to measure here. I'm going to do this. 1, 2. Do you know what's in this right now? If this was all the water in the world, and what's in this, can you guess the difference? Nova, can you guess the difference? Well, that's such a good guess, and you're close, because this water versus this water has salt in it, right? Oceans. So most of the water in our world are oceans. The problem with salt water is you can't drink it, right? And it's hard to water your gardens with it. It's not very usable, is what we say about it. This water, however, is the amount of water on Earth that doesn't have salt in it. Not very much. Not very much. But some, I could drink that and maybe quench my thirst a little bit. But there's a catch. I'm going to take this. I'm going to measure. Oops, I did too much. Oops. See this little, can you see that? That is the amount of fresh water on Earth that we can use. This is like glaciers and polar ice caps and water that's so deep in the ground we can't access it. Maybe it's in the atmosphere. This is what we have to live on. And so it's probably no surprise to you that there are people on Earth who have to walk like 5 miles every day just to get water. And we live in a place where there is lots of fresh water. Even though this is a drought year, we're really lucky. And when you're that lucky, it means you kind of have to be careful, right? Because you're responsible for something really beautiful, this fresh water. Here's the other thing. We need other things. We need love. We need friendship. We need all sorts of things like that. And I'm going to tell you there are people in this world that would walk a really long ways for those things, that they don't have enough of those things in their lives. And for those of us who do, who have places like this where they can come, we would like to say to people, walk over here and we will give you love. We will, we promise. Like, for those people, this is what I like to do sometimes. I like to think of it like water. And then I like to think of it like a rain cloud that would rain water and love and friendship on all the places that need it, like a little wandering rain cloud. And this is what I want to do with you today. I think we should make a little rainstorm and think of it as like not just a rainstorm, but like a love storm. And that like we're sending like our little cloud to go rain love on all the places that need it and share what we have. And share what we have. Because we have so much fresh water here, but we also have a lot of love just in this room. I know a lot of these people. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at eyes. There's a lot of love in this room. So here's what we're going to do as a crowd. So you all are kids right now. And you're going to close your eyes. And not yet, because I need to show you something first. You're very obedient, though. You're going to close your eyes, and I'm going to make a sound next to your ear, and then the person next to you is going to start making that sound. And there's a couple different sounds. There's this one. Can you rub your hands together, everyone? And then there's another one. You ready? This one's snapping. Pretty good. And then there's this one. Nice and slow, and then this is my favorite one. Can you do that? All right. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to start a sound over here, and you're going to hear your neighbor do it, and then you do it, and then the next person does it, and then it goes over here. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to start another sound. And it's going to come across. And then I'm going to do another sound. It's going to come across. And then we're going to go back the other way. And it's going to be like a big rainstorm came. I promise. But you have to close your eyes or the magic won't happen. Okay, you ready? Everybody close your eyes. I promise I won't do anything weird. Okay. There's a lot of trust in the room. Okay, are we ready? You're all drenched in love. All right, we're going to go now. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Katie, and thank you for all our rainmakers. As our children go to their classes, let's sing them out with As You Go. In a collective act of generosity known as our offering, when we take time to actively support Westside UU congregation and its many ministries with our gifts by text, check, or cash. Each month, we choose a community organization to share 1/3 of our undesignated offering gifts. For the month of May, our community giving recipient is Sound Generations, which is a multi-service nonprofit partnering with older adults to remove the inequities that impact aging by providing accessible, essential, and inclusive services that support people through their life's journey. They are currently experiencing government funding cuts affecting their services, which include Meals on Wheels, volunteer transportation, personalized guidance for navigating resources, and resources for caregivers, to name just a few. You can give by text by sending a message with a $sign and the amount you want to give to the number on the screen. For folks here in the sanctuary who prefer to share your gifts by cash or check, the greeters will move among us shortly. thank you to everyone for giving as you were able to support Westside and Sound Generations. Your generosity of time, treasure, and presence are gifts that sustain us as a community. During each of our services, we like to take a moment to hold collective space for the joys and sorrows of this community. As a reminder, if you'd like for a joy or sorrow to be shared from the pulpit or with our minister, you can find a form to submit that in our newsletter. Today we hear from Ursula Ham, who asks that you send her sister-like friend, also Ursula, into Bingen, Germany, encouraging, healing thoughts, and keep her in your prayers. Her cancer has come back. She lost one kidney the first time. Thank you. And we hold all the joys and sorrows that are here in this room and beyond unspoken. Let us now have a moment of silence, followed by music, to hold in our hearts all the joys and sorrows, both known and unknown, of our community. Let us lift each other up in love, as well as our neighbors in the wider human community.
There is a love holding me. There is a love, all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
The towns we know and leave behind, the rivers we carry with us, by Richard Hugo. I forget the name of towns without rivers. A town needs a river to forgive the town. Whatever river, whatever town, it is much the same. The cruel things that I did, I took to the river. I begged the current, make me better. Your town, your river, or mine, it is much the same. A murdering man lives on the land. In a shack, the river birds hate. He rubs the red shriek of night from his eyes. He prays to water, don't let me do that again. Let's name your river, Ohio. Let's name all rivers, one in the blood, red stream and debris in the blood. Say George Doty had a wrong head. Say the Ohio forgives what George did, and the river birds loved his shack. Let's name the birds, heron and sweat. Let's get away from the mud. The river is there to forgive the town, and without a river, the town abuses the sky. The river is there to forgive what I did. Let's name my river the Duwamish. And let's admit, the river birds don't hate my home. That's a recent development, really, like mercury in the cod. Without a river, a town abuses the air. The river is there to forgive what I did. The river birds hate what I did until I name them. Your river or mine, it is much the same. A murdering man lived on the bank. Here's the trick. We had to stay drunk to welcome the river, to live in a shack, to die on the bank, beneath the bigoted sky, under the river birds, day after day, to murder away all water that might die. A murdering man is dead on the bank of your new river, the East, or mine, the Clark Fork. It is much the same. Your river has gulls and tugs. Mine has eagles and sky. I rubbed last night from my eyes. I asked bright water, what happened? The river, I'm not sure which one, says water has no special power. What should I do? Or you? Now, water has no need to forgive. What shall become of murder? How shall we live when we killed, when we died by the word? Whatever the name of the river, we both had two women to love. One, to love us enough we left behind a town that abuses the sky, that abuses the day. The other, to love the river we brought with us, the shack we lived and still live in, the birds, the towns that return to us for names, and we give them names, knowing the river murders them away.
Thank you, Rick. I want to say a couple of words before we sing our next song. Our city, the city of Seattle, was named, somewhat incorrectly after a great chief of this area. We call it Seattle. His name was originally pronounced differently. And there was this famous speech that was given by Chief Seattle at one particular point, and it moved very, very many people. Quite a few years later, one of our colonist ancestors here, a journalist, put down those words, or put down his recollection of those words. And we have transcribed them and said that they were the words of Chief Seattle. While the words are undoubtedly not his original words, we agree that the text of what it was is very much in line with what he had said that particular day. And so we're going to honor those words and this person with this song. It's the words of Chief Seattle.
Oh Thank you all very much for welcoming me here today. I'm here with you today because after about 25, well, close to 30 years now of working on the Duwamish River and with its people, native, immigrant, recreational, industrial, and other river-dependent communities, I've become a bit of a river junkie, basically. The Duwamish has worked its way very deep into my heart. And I'm guessing that for most of you, a river, a bay, or a creek, perhaps where you grew up or where you live now, may also be like that. What I've learned in the years that I've been talking about our river and this book is that for many of us in the Seattle area, we've come to understand our treatment of our local waters as a reflection of ourselves. And for most of us, that means our treatment of the Duwamish River and its many tributaries, both present and past. One of the most profound responses I've received when I've asked people why the Duwamish River matters to them was from a Duwamish tribal member named James Rasmussen, who is a central figure in my book. He answered that by saying, "That's like asking me why my grandmother matters." Our family shapes us, and our places mold us, and our waterways tell us something about who we are. The Duwamish River is a living reflection of Seattle's history. It's central to the character of our city. It tells us a lot about who we are and who we've been. And after spending 3 decades getting to know our river, I think the story of the Duwamish also shows us a lot about who and what we can be. So I'd like to start with a brief reading from my book about a particular place on the Duwamish River. This is a Port of Seattle park that used to be known as Terminal 107. Words matter too. It was recently renamed Ha'apus Park and Natural Area for a creek that ran through it. A bulldozer was churning up the ground where Cecile Maxwell's ancestral village had once stood. Maxwell, the great-grandniece of Chief Seattle and the new chairwoman of the Duwamish tribe, had been visiting the site upriver of the West Seattle Bridge often. In the months leading up to this day in early July 1976, she had frequently talked with the archaeology students sifting through carefully excavated bores of black dirt speckled with shell and bone fragments. She was eager to learn about their finds and how they might affect her tribe's claims to land and to fishing rights in the area. No students were working this day. Their project had been wrapped up, the grids and tools they'd been using in their research removed. The site had been quiet for several weeks, but today a bulldozer was working the area where the students had meticulously documented fragments of bone, stone tools, and seashell deposits. Alarmed, Maxwell hurried back to her office and dialed the number for the Army Corps of Engineers. The previous fall, the Army Corps had sent Maxwell a letter notifying her that they'd found evidence of a tribal settlement on land owned by the Port of Seattle. The Corps' district archaeologist, David Munsell, had been reviewing an application from the port for a permit to fill a river bend that was left behind when the Duwamish waterway was constructed more than half a century earlier. The remnant branched sharply off the deep, straight shipping channel and looped west before arcing back to rejoin the constructed waterway half a mile downriver, or a full mile along the meander formed by the natural river bend. The port's permit application was routine, but a new Washington state law declared a state interest in protecting archaeological resources for their historical and scientific value. The Corps of Engineers had never examined any Duwamish River sites for their archaeological value before, but the port's Terminal 107 property, which sat across along that remnant stretch of river was right across the channel from Munsell's office. He could see it from the windows of the Army Corps building. So, with the application in hand, he drove across the West Seattle Bridge to take a look. Munsell passed the Seaboard Lumber Mill before turning into a small lot at Terminal 107. He parked his car and walked to a cluster of houses in the process of being demolished. To prepare for developing the property, the port was evicting the occupants of an entire neighborhood of modest homes that stretched along the river bend. Some of the houses had already been removed, their shallow foundation pits exposed. Peering down at the exposed layers of earth in one of those pits, Munsell immediately knew that he would not be approving the port's application. A swath of exposed shell and bone fragments, more than a foot deep, cut across the face of the dirt, a classic midden or disposal ground commonly associated with prehistoric villages. The Port of Seattle's Terminal 107 had archaeological resources in abundance, lying bare for all to see. So, after this visit, the federal government shut down the Port of Seattle's construction project and required them to hire archaeologists to fully study the site. Despite that, the port ordered the demolition of several more houses right in the middle of the study area, and that's what was happening when Cecile encountered the bulldozer. The archaeologists studying the site said that 80 to 90% of the remains had been destroyed that day. And had that been all that there was to the story, the river bend would likely just be another marine terminal today. But fortunately, that's not all there was to the story. The discovery led to the river bend being fully excavated, more remains found, and the site declared a permanently protected National Historic Preservation Area. With that, I want to quickly walk you through the past roughly 200 years in our shared watershed. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a map of the Duwamish watershed in the 1800s. And for brief orientation, I don't have a light that I can shine, but the large body of water at the top, that's Lake Washington, and the thin strip of land next to it, to the left of it, is Seattle. And then you can see that Seattle also borders on Elliott Bay in Puget Sound. All of the blue is the water in the original Duwamish River watershed. From the bottom, which was the White River, to the middle branch, the green, the upper river branch, the cedar, and then you've got Lake Issaquah and Lake Washington, and all of the tributaries into Lake Washington, the creeks in North Seattle, even Green Lake itself, draining into Lake Washington. All of that out of the bottom of Lake Washington, connecting to that little connecting river called the Black, and then below that, everything was called the Duwamish. So it was quite an expansive watershed. Can you advance the slide, please? Little red line shows where the White River was diverted into the Puyallup and Commencement Bay via the narrow Stuck River Valley in 1898 with the help of some flood-weary farmers armed with dynamite. The change became permanent in 1906, enforced by armed guards who patrolled its banks. Next slide. Which eliminated just this small section of the White River right here in what we now know as Auburn. Shortly after, the Cedar River was channelized into Lake Washington. Next slide. See a very small little line there. And that brought the Cedar River around the then growing town of Renton. But of course it would flow back down because the Lake Washington drained from the south, but around the growing farms and residences in Renton. Very shortly after that, a new channel was cut to Lake Union and out to Puget Sound. Next slide. Further up. With that, the new ship canal, as they called it, the lakes dropped by more than 7 feet, which was below the level of the lake's outlet to the Black River. Next slide. Which then also dried up. Next slide. Only the Green River remains today to feed the Duwamish. This is what our watershed now looks like as a result of those handful of cuts. Next slide. Beginning in 1895, the open bay where the river met Puget Sound began to be transformed as well. In the early years of building out industrial corridors and rail lines, colonizers used the tidal mudflats to suspend elevated transportation corridors and factory islands like you can see here. The mudflats were then considered worthless or even pestilent by the early industrialists. One of those early industrial boosters, a man by the name of Eugene Semple, created Harbor Island and its flanking waterways. And he boasted about his work by writing, quote, "On this land will be founded the major portion of the manufacturing industries of the city by making solid and substantial land where formerly there was only water, the rising and falling of the tides, and occasionally bare and unsightly mudflats, which were a menace to the health of the dwellers on the adjacent dry lands," end quote. Semple delivered on his promise. Next slide. Today's Soto, Harbor Island, and West Seattle's marine terminals are a testament to his vision. Next. It's the same place today. Next slide, please. So then finally, from the original meandering course of the Duwamish River, below the historic Black River Junction out to those tide flats, the tide flat work was followed by a plan to straighten the Duwamish River and fill in its old meanders in order to expand industrial land into the south of Seattle. Next slide. We're going to look at this area here for a very brief period. Next slide, please. Oh, that's the village where Cecile stopped the bulldozer. Next slide. So for a brief period, the straightened waterway and the original river meanders coexisted, but that was very short-lived. Next. There's the village again. Next slide. Yeah, and you can see a photograph of that as well. Today, the original 12 miles of the lower Duwamish River has been channelized into a short 5-mile shipping canal. Next. And again, you can see the location of the village site where Cecile stopped the bulldozer. Next. Once at the very mouth of the river delta, that bend is now a mile upriver of the constructed end of the shipping canal and its surrounding built-up industrial lands. Next. And there's the village site again. Next. During the time that all of these changes were taking place in the watershed, there were equally dramatic changes taking place among the river's people. White colonial settlement turned the watershed's social landscape upside down. So I want to introduce you to just one of the families who kept meticulous records of what happened to them in the 7 generations that have passed since white settlement. Next. One more. Thank you. A couple decades before the first settler put down roots in the current city of Seattle, which was when the Maples, Collin, and Van Asselt families landed on the banks of the Duwamish River and claimed land before the arrival of the Denny Party, Sebald, here, and his sister, Tupdalyut, were born to a Black River family in the village of Spabadid. They were highborn, or among the leadership class of the region's indigenous people, and Sebald became a healer, a doctor. His sister married Chris Canum. He was a Skagit chief from Whitby Island who was an ally of Chief Seattle's and signed the Treaty of Point Elliott alongside him. Canum and Tupdalyut had 2 daughters, and Sebald became known as Dr. Jack or Uncle Jack to his family. Next. Canum and Tupdalyut's daughter, Keolitsa, moved back to her mother's ancestral village of Spabadid on the Black River just as the white pioneers were beginning to settle in their homelands. And her family's oral history says that she was then kidnapped by the Yakama Nation and later escaped, using a canoe and paddle that she stole to make her way back home. She married a white pioneer, Dr. Reuben Bigelow, who opened the region's very first coal mine. And after he died, she married another settler, and they moved to Vashon Island. Next. Their first daughter, Nellie, was among the Puget Sound area's first generation of mixed native settler children. And as a teenager, she returned to the Seattle area and wound up working in the home of Judge Thomas Burke. He was an attorney and railroad booster whose name is memorialized in the Burke Museum at UW, the Burke-Gilman Trail, which follows the course of the railroad line he helped build, and the Burke Building downtown. It seems that Nellie learned a great deal about the law and about land transactions, colonial land transactions from Burke, and then helped her Uncle Jack secure a homestead land claim in the 1890s on the Cedar River. It was the only such claim ever granted to a Duwamish person in their native homelands. Next. Nellie also married a white immigrant to the territory, and they had a son, Myron Overracker Jr. And after she, Nellie, negotiated a series of land deals that helped gather her family back together in their natal watershed, Nellie and her husband homesteaded on state-owned land on top of Beacon Hill, overlooking Lake Washington. So Myron Jr. was a child when the Duwamish River was being straightened, and the lake level dropped, and the tidelands in Elliott Bay turning into Seattle's industrial powerhouse. They were actually able to watch Lake Washington drop by more than 7 feet from their front porch. Myron Jr. wound up working in one of Harbor Island's very first industries, a shipyard called Todd, or Vigor today. He was also a founding member of the new Duwamish Tribal Council, organized under the governing U.S. laws that were required at that time in order to carry on their tribal governance. Next, please. By the time Myron Jr.'s daughter, Anne, was born, the Duwamish watershed's transformation was complete, and the population of Seattle had exploded and diversified. She grew up during World War II and remembered their Beacon Hill neighbor, Tadashi Yamaguchi, being taken away in 1941 and interred along with the rest of his Japanese family. She raised her own son in the same house her grandparents had homesteaded and followed her father in serving on the Duwamish Tribal Council. In the photo here, she's holding the canoe paddle that Keolitsa, in the photo above her, used to escape from her abduction by the Yakimas. It's still in their family today. Next. Anne's son, Chris Canham, and Tup Dalyut's great-great-great-grandson, James Rasmussen, was born in 1955. He was a notable musician in Seattle's jazz scene, and at age 24 was following in the footsteps of his mother and grandfather on the Duwamish Tribal Council. We're going to come back to James and his relationship with the river in just a minute. But first, next slide. James's niece, his sister's daughter, is the 7th generation since Dr. Jack and his sister greeted the first white settlers to Puget Sound. She's also the 4th generation of his family to serve on the modern Duwamish Tribal Council today. So the changes this family has witnessed in the Duwamish watershed in the region are documented in The River That Made Seattle, and certainly the family's adaptation and resilience are astounding, but they're not alone. Other descendants of Chris Canham and the descendants of Chief South and many others are still with us, as are the descendants of those first settler families. And despite all of this disruption, displacement, and disenfranchisement of the watershed's indigenous people, many of them are still here and actively influencing the city of Seattle to this day. Next. Excuse me. This is certainly true of James. Just as his ancestors did, James has a way of forging alliances with people who are very different from himself. And as one example, in 1984, James met John Beale. John was a Vietnam War veteran who moved to the Duwamish Valley in 1976. He suffered from PTSD, and at age 29, he had 3 heart attacks and was diagnosed as terminal. John turned a little semblance of nature he could find in a deep ravine behind his house with a murky stream, thick blackberries, and piles of trash. But grateful for the quiet refuge it offered him in his illness, he resolved to clean it up. He wanted to leave his little patch of nature better than he'd found it. He succeeded, and he survived for another 30 years. Next slide. In 1984, John approached the Duwamish tribe to ask for their help restoring salmon runs in the Duwamish River and his creek, called Ham Creek, in South Park. As the council heard him out, James was particularly impressed with John's passion for the river, and the two of them formed a partnership that would help transform both the creek and the Duwamish River over the next 2 decades. They worked together to focus attention on the river that had sustained James's family for generations and the creek that John credited with keeping him alive. In the late 90s, they recruited a broad-based coalition of Native, environmental, social justice, and neighborhood groups that would go on to create the Duwamish River Cleanup Coalition. Next slide. By the time EPA listed the river for Superfund cleanup in 2001, James and John were poised and ready to lead the charge for a river revival that would protect the health of the river's Native and immigrant constituents. Next slide. In the years since, the river has been transformed from the dumping ground I first saw in 1994. It's a photo I took on one of my first kayaks down the river. Next. To a place where thousands of volunteers have restored riverfront habitat that had long since been destroyed. Next. And the watershed's Native people have been undertaking a cultural revitalization of their river traditions, resource uses, and political leadership in the Seattle area. Next. Over the years, they've been joined in their efforts by new waves of immigrants, fishing families, longshoremen, recreational river users. Next. And countless numbers of residents living in the river's historic waterfront neighborhoods like South Park and Georgetown. Many of these new immigrants and neighbors are now taking up the mantle of leadership for the river cleanup themselves. Paulina Lopez, who's pictured here with her family, is a human rights law expert originally from Ecuador who chose to live in South Park because of its proximity to the river. She's now the director of the Duwamish River Community Coalition and says her focus is centered on the next generation. The wealth of the city of Seattle was built on the back of the Duwamish River, she said recently. Sometimes I feel like we're being crushed. Next slide. But then I wake up in the morning and I see our youth, how much potential they have. When she sees that, she says, I feel like we're building a movement. Next slide. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here with you today.
I got so taken up in that I forgot I had a job. All right, I invite you all to rise in body or spirit as we sing Our World is One World. Hymn number 134 in your gray hymnals if you want to look along. Effect
Thank you. Thank you to Scott Farrell and the West Side Chorale, to John Hanson and Ronnie Bishop. Thank you to our speaker, BJ Cummings, Reverend Katie Lawson, Marion Key, Rick Taylor, Nate Mesnard, and Henry Sikora, our greeters, our hospitality team. As always, it's a pleasure to do this sacred work together. Please make sure to look at your Westside Week for details about upcoming events and activities, including our annual meeting a week from today, Sunday, June 1st, 10:30 a.m. on Zoom only. Don't come here. We'll be hearing a report from our board, voting on our 25-26 budget, electing new board members and nominating committee, and voting on our pathways to repair and reconnection document, and more. A quorum of our members is required, so please mark your calendars and join us. Our next Sunday service will be on June 8th, the Way Stations on the Journey, our RE Celebration Sunday with Reverend Katie Lawson, Reverend Carter Smith, and Worship Associate Lisa Reitzes. And after the service, please participate in the Toward a Just World bake sale and food drive at our next service. The after-service event benefits Westside's Refugee Support and the White Center Food Bank. You're invited to bring canned goods, rice, and other staples, and take home some delicious home-baked treats, all to support a more just world. And please rise in body or spirit for our closing words. In the river, the water continually flows on, yet the river is ever there. Our lives flow on in endless song, yet life and joy shall never end. And now, as Marion releases our flame, may you go into this week blessed and blessing the world. We hold you in our love as you go.